Well, thank you, Todd. Thank you so very much. A lot of what we did here in my house and what you did in your house was talking to other people who've already electrified. And one of the things we're hoping to do today is create those relationships, at least give names, and you can see who's in your breakout rooms. Maybe make a connection for some of you who have already electrified. I'm going to talk about money. How do you afford this? Next slide, please. The IRA rebates are divided between what they call income qualified and eligibility for all. And people started asking the question, well, what's going to happen to the IRA now that there's a change in administration? I'm going to talk about that just real briefly here, and then we'll talk about more in the breakout room. We will provide you some direction on how to find funding in my breakout session, and we'll give you some QR codes and some other things to do too. Next slide, please. This is my house. The one in the top left corner is the heat pump water heater. It's 80 gallon. We had a 50-gallon gas water heater before that. We installed this. This is almost 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. On the right on the top is our Mitsubishi heat pump, which connects to the fan coil unit in the attic behind you. Down on the left-hand side is the induction stove. We use something called the GE Cafe. We like it because that upper one has a air fryer, and on the far right in the bottom there is our solar clothes dryer. One of the things we found that when we had all this done, I removed personally all the gas lines from the house, and I have to tell you how much fun that was, just pulling out the gas lines. I did that after PG&E, our local utility, had removed the meter. But just in my case, I had to really enjoy pulling out the gas lines. Next slide, please. One of the things we get asked is about the Inflation Reduction Act. There's quite a bit of money available now. There are 10 states and the District of Columbia have started receiving funding. How long that will continue under the new administration, I don't know. I'm a little bit hopeful, and I'll tell you why in a second. 8 more states have had their applications approved. Montana, Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, and Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee. If you know something about those states, and Ohio and West Virginia, they are all red states. So that is an indication to me that perhaps those states will put pressure on the new administration after they come into office. I can't guarantee that, but I'm hopeful that the 10 states that started receiving funding will distribute it. The 8 more states have had their applications approved, and the 17 more states that are waiting for an answer that will have a good outcome of the Inflation Reduction Act. Next slide, please. Now, I know you can't read this, I'm sorry, but this is something we're going to give you. After this session is over, we're going to give you all the attachments. We'll give you the slide presentation, these slides. We will also give you a copy of today's video. You'll get a larger copy of this. What we did, we went through, we looked at every single state and every single district and territory in the United States. We found a website that shows what they do for electrification and for energy savings. I learned 2 things out of this. Every state is thinking about electrification, and even those like South Dakota, which has refused the IRA funds, still has a website that starts you on the journey that Roger talked about, which is weatherization and some of the other things you can do. Next slide, please. So what you'll do, this is a blow up. Let's look at the state of Georgia. You go to Georgia, there's the state energy program. You click on that in this program and you'll find out what Georgia has to offer. We did the best we could to try to find where all the good sources of funding is. These websites will point you in the right direction. Some of the states like Arizona, California, Colorado, and so on have what's called the Rewiring America calculator, where you'll be able to go to that site, and we'll have a QR code for that in a second, and you'll be able to determine exactly what it is that state offers. It's a tremendous opportunity for you, and all the states are increasing, the Rewiring America is increasing the number of states that they're including in that process. So if your state's not on the list, it will be soon. Next slide, please. This is a QR code that you can use in my breakout session. You'll be able to pick up your phone, click on that QR, and go directly to the personalized incentive estimate that provided by Rewiring America. Rewiring America is just such a great source of finding information. They have information about where to find money, information about where to find a contractor in some of the states, and information about incentives that are available. It's not just Inflation Reduction Act. There are also others, such as local utilities offer um, rebates in money. Cities sometimes offer rebates in money for electrification. So you have an opportunity, even if the IRA goes away, to electrify your home using funds from various sources. I'm a member of a group called Peninsula Clean Energy's Community Advisory Committee, our local utility provider, and they fully intend to keep moving forward with their own funds with electrification rebates. So I'm pretty sure that the rest of my area is going to take advantage of that, and I know you will be able to as well. Well, good afternoon for some of you, and good morning to the rest of you. I'm Robert Whitehair. I'm here in California, and we're going to answer questions about funding and all those kinds of things. And I'm going to have to minimize my screen for a second and go find the original presentation I made, and then we're going to talk about it. And how do I do that? There we go. Excuse me a second. Be right back. I'm going to share. So those are this is the presentation. I'm going to scroll down to, I'm just going to run through my slides real quickly again, and then we can kind of take some time on each one of them. So I'm going to go here, and I'm a little smart, this will work. Of course, that's not going to work because I did that wrong. Oh, there I am. So this is about finding money. I don't know if we want to get into the income qualified bit of it, but income qualified in many parts of the country, you'll be surprised how many people are eligible for that. It's a very high threshold, so more people will qualify than I originally thought. In some states, just about everybody will qualify. Rebates, amounts, guidelines, and requirements change every day. When we were doing this presentation and getting prepared for it, we had to constantly update the information on the screen if we had the most recent one. Come on. This is what I did. This is what, I don't know what state you are from, but this gives you an idea. Maine, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Georgia already have funds available. You can apply for them. There's a process. You can look in the stuff that I gave the website I'm going to give you on this one. And then really wanted to get technical now, you could pull out your phone and do this. I'm going to stop there. What kinds of questions do you folks have? Let me introduce Mark Cook. Mark Cook is working with me. Mark is from Arizona, and he's helping with this session answer questions. So he'll be gathering questions. So you either raise your hand if you know how to do that, or you can put your questions in the chat. It's open.
Robert, can I just say something really quick?
Jump in, man.
Okay, so since this is about some of the financial aspects of all of this, when we put solar panels on our roof and we bought a plug-in hybrid, and we had three levels of savings. My wife and I, before we retired, we had an emergency fund, which you're supposed to kind of keep in case you lose your job, which had happened to me a couple times in my career. And then sort of we had an intermediate savings thing, and then finally a long-term savings aspect. And the reason I'm telling you this is we did these things. We bought the plug-in hybrid and we put solar panels on our roof, and those things are hugely expensive. For the first several years, we were able to live strictly on our emergency fund because at that point we'd retired. We didn't need it. And the point of that is we had very little income. This is money that we'd saved for our emergency, and it was after tax and all that. And so in order to avail ourselves of the credits, the federal and state credits, I had to take out money from my more intermediate or even longer term savings, my individual retirement account, in order to be able to take advantage of those credits. So the point I'm trying to make is these things are important in financing whatever it is you might do. And you want to make sure that your income is sufficient that you can take advantage of those credits. If you can't do it all in one year, a lot of times you can take it over time. But I think that's just a very key point. If you are going to get the full benefit of whatever credits are available, make sure you have enough income and tax that would be on that income to then be able to take those credits. I hope that's clear.
If I could summarize what I think you said, Mark, was you can do a little bit of financial planning to make you more eligible for some of the grants that are out there, some of the different things. And that's really good advice.
Yeah.
Jerry has his hand up. I had a quick, I'm answering a question in the chat as well. Let me just take that real quick. Someone asked from Maryland, should I move quickly? Should I get started now before the Maryland actually starts receiving the funds? My answer is move as quickly as you can with what's available. There's some non-IRA monies that are available in Maryland. If you're a member of Elders Climate Action, some of the folks there are really active in this, so you can learn from them. Jerry. Go ahead, Jerry.
That's actually his wife's name.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's Dave. I'm sorry.
Dave.
I didn't know you were calling on me. That's
Sorry.
so, yeah, but she was kind of the motivator for us. We've done most of the changes here, including solar, replacing hot water heater and whatever. But I wanted to mention what Mark was saying also about the federal rebates is that you also, unfortunately, it's getting a little late. You may not be able to, we don't know what the new administration is going to do. We had to put our hot water heater replacement in 1 year in December. And then the next year we went to replace our furnace because you have a $2,000 cap each year on those items, whereas you don't have it on the solar. And we've been driving electric. I've been driving electric hybrid forever, and then I got a fully electric. Jerry's been driving it since 2017. She's had a couple over the time, but I think it's important. You ask me next year how well we've done as far as we took out the gas furnace and put in solar heat pump, rather a full heat pump, and we're pretty cold. We're in northern Michigan, so we'll see how that plays out.
You know, one of the things that I needed to clarify, the tax credits are available now. You don't have to wait for the IRA, for the HERA and Home program, which the rebates. You can take advantage of tax credits now. Thank you, Dave, for reminding us of that. If you can get something done before the end of the year, which is getting a little touchy, but you might be able to do that. And then the other one is the rebates themselves. The chart I put up on the screen shows when the other rebates, the HERA and the homes, I don't want to get bogged down on that, but there's more rebates coming. That's the $4,000 for the heat pump and the $8,000 for the furnace. They're coming, and some of those are initially based on income. But you can take advantage of the tax credits right now.
I just want to mention something else. Instead of hiring a single contractor to say, do your hot water heater, if you have a plumber, you can go to Home Depot, which has a heat pump, hot water heaters, or Lowe's, and you just have to package all the information when it goes to your rebate request from the IRS. And sometimes that works out to be a lot less expensive. It lowers your rebate, but in the long run, it's less expensive.
Yeah, how much did you pay for a heat pump at Home Depot or wherever you?
$1,200 for the heat pump, $600 or $800 for the installation. So I was under $2,000, and I did the electric myself.
Oh my goodness. You know what they cost in California? As much as $7,500 or more for that installation. That's golden, what you just did. Okay, there's a question in the chat about, tell us more about HERA. There's two programs. These are the rebate programs. There's HERA and Homes. Each state is handling that differently, and you'll have to check with your state. And I would go to the map that I gave you and check on the link, show you how that state is handling that. You can also go to the Rewiring America website we gave you, and that will also tell you what's happening in your state, but not all states. But the thing to do is to use that spreadsheet we're going to send out to you. Peggy?
I think that was part of my question. I'm in Virginia, and I saw that Virginia is not lit up on your map that you are talking about. I guess I'm not sure what's the difference as far as what's available money-wise in the states versus the tax credits, because I did get an EV 3 years ago and I got a tax credit on it. So, but I'm looking at moving ahead with, at the very least, maybe a gas heat pump or
Heat pump water heater?
hot water heater. Yeah.
Yeah, they're typically the easiest ones to do, and Mark helped me with this one. You can get that $2,000 rebate, tax credit now if you were to install it now.
Mhm.
$2,000. You can use that every single year as long as it's in operation. The other program, the HERA and the Homes, are programs for rebates, point of sale. You go down to Home Depot and they'll take so much off the top. And in some states, that's going to be depending on how much money you make. Other states is a little differently. You can see the complexity we have when we were trying to put this together, try to explain everything for every single state. And that's why we're directing you to the right place to go. Mark, what would you add on that?
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate all the
I don't know
responses.
if that helps, but I hope it does. Mark?
I'm sorry, Robert, what was it you were asking me about?
Well, is there anything you want to say about rebates or HERA and Homes that I didn't cover?
I actually am not that familiar with it, so no, I don't.
Okay. Carolyn Golden has her hand up. Carolyn?
Don't forget to unmute yourself, Carolyn.
Yeah, I guess not. Okay. Let's see, tax credit. Somebody ran into annual dollar limitations on rebates. We installed doors and windows last year. I wish I had known and would have spread out the investments more. Maybe that is just Illinois. It's actually every state. You get a $2,000 tax credit every year, as long as the IRA is still in effect. I have to believe, I'm an optimistic guy, that at least part of the IRA for homes will continue. Because if you remember the map I showed, I'm going to pull it up here and talk about it. Randy, hang on a second, Randy. If you remember this slide, I'll bring it up. If you remember this slide, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, as well as Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, Maine, and Georgia, have the money for the HERA and Homes program. All the states on this map and all the territories have the tax rebates. It's an ongoing program. If you look at this again, in Montana, Nebraska, Kansas, and Texas, and Missouri, just applied in the last month and just got the ball rolling. I have to believe they're going to put pressure on their legislators to do something about continuing the Inflation Reduction Act and not letting it fail. That's something that you could have an option to as well. You could impact through working through all this climate action, trying to help advocate, let your local legislators know, and members of Congress that this is such an important program to you, that it will continue. You hear lots of story that the new president is going to kill all these programs. We'll see.
Right. Carolyn had a question. Hopefully I'm getting it right. She said she could not unmute herself. It says, Carolyn's thing, I found it above. I'm working with my contractor for HERA funds, but waiting for qualifying mini splits. Any thoughts how to lock down what's qualifying? I want to get installed before end of year.
My thought is that just about all the mini splits do qualify. I'm assuming your contractor is experienced in installing electric equipment. What I found here in California, and I don't know if this is true in the rest of the country, sometimes contractors just don't know, or it's possible they may be pushing you to install what it is they sell, which could be gas equipment. I have a Mitsubishi system. Mitsubishi also makes some fantastic mini splits. They're out there, they qualify, they can be installed now. If you want to contact me, I can help you with more information after the fact. I'll put what's really is robertwhitehair2@gmail.com. I would be happy to assist you, Carolyn, after this is over, to kind of walk you through that. I've been doing that with people around the country, and I enjoy doing it. I would be happy to do it for you. So I'll put my name and my Gmail in the chat, but it's Robert Whitehair 2, the number 2, all one word, @gmail.com. Other questions? Randy, did you have your hand up earlier?
Yes, I did. We just recently bought a plug-in hybrid, and I just happened by chance looking back at the paperwork, and the price that they showed included the $7,500 rebate, which I didn't realize at that point in time. So just like a heads up, you really want to look closely at the advertising and the pricing so that you know what you're getting.
So in your case, they didn't tell you that it was included in the price. You expected to get it later and you didn't get it.
Right. Well, what they did on the pricing is that they showed you a discounted price. Then they said for tax purposes, we have to include the $7,500. So it went from 41,000 to add, $7,500 more. Then they took it back off at the end. So I don't know. It was just one of those things where I wish I'd have been a little more attentive to the pricing.
Yeah. I had a similar experience with my heat pump. They quoted me a price of $19,000, but I knew that the rebate was available for $3,000 in California. This is 3-4 years ago. And so I asked them for the full price, $19,000, and then I took the $3,000 off, and the money went to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're smart like that, Randy, like you've learned, and thank you for bringing that up, you can work with contractors. They will not tell you all the time. The other thing about contractors, I had to be honest about, is they will tell you that you'll need gas backup or you'll need electric heat resistance backup. At just about no place in the country do you need that, with one exception, and that would be in the Tahoe area and the mountains, above 7,000 feet. You probably will need some sort of electric resistance heating backup. So you don't need that in most of the country. Final question. We're going to be kicked out of here, and you can come back into this room if you didn't get your question asked.